Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So it is April 2024 as I'm recording this, which means it is 3 years since I quit my full-time nonprofit job and made the video that is currently the second most popular video on my channel and is really responsible for one of the major glow-ups that my channel has had. In honor of this anniversary, actually at the suggestion of my coaching client, I'm gonna go ahead and do a reaction video to my original quitting my job video. I don't think I have watched it in full since making it, and I remember when I made it, it was very uncomfortable because at the time it felt so vulnerable what I was sharing. I think it was that vulnerability that really resonated with so many people and brought it the success that it has since had. So let's go back in time and watch it together. This is also one of my first proper reaction videos, so please give me grace as I figure out how to really do this. Let's press play.
There's something inside of me. Hey y'all.
That hasn't changed.
As you can see,
still don't like when things are inside of me.
Video. If you watched my last video, then you knew that this day was coming. It was March 31st.
Okay, I'm already pausing. First off, I love that for my subtitle, I just put unemployed. I love that I just leaned in all the way. I didn't really fully appreciate the power of words and what we speak over ourselves, and I would not do that again. Okay, let's get back into it.
And here I am on the other side of that. It's only been about a week and a half or so. It was just last week. So it's still super fresh to me, actually. And I just want to talk a little bit about, why I quit, talk a bit about faith and courage and my next steps, and just, process a little bit verbally with you all, give you some motivation, some inspiration, and some context and some background and all that. Like a lot of my videos, this is really just for future me to look back on. Right now, this feels like this huge, momentous thing that I've done, and it is.
It is.
But I also have enough context to
Okay, first off, I love that. I love that I was like, hey, future Chimdi, I know you're gonna be here, all right? So hi. And I'm like, oh, it's me. I'm future Chimdi. Also, I think, and it could be obviously I was going through it at that job, I think I look so tired compared to like how I look now and the energy I have now. Y'all will let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that. Okay, let's get into it.
Realize that it's a far bigger deal than it really is, and future me will look back on this video and be like,
look at her, just precious, just precious.
Alright, so let me just talk about why I quit my job. I've worked at my job for about 3.5 years, and I knew pretty early on that it wasn't the right role for me.
Okay, so additional context, because a lot of people responded to that video being like, because I talk about how I'm going to be living in all this freedom, People were like, how are you gonna be able to afford to be in that nice ass cabin house when you ain't got no job? And so to clarify, I shot this video during a friend's cabin birthday weekend. So we drove up to the mountains in California to celebrate her birthday, and this was the Airbnb that we were staying at. So just for context, I wasn't starting a new life where I was gonna live in the woods. I just happened to be in a really beautiful part of nature, and I was like, now is the time to record this video. So that's what's going on there.
I knew arguably about 6 months in that it really wasn't the right fit. It was a lateral move, and I was really doing what I ended up doing with this job, which was leaving a situation versus kind of going to a situation. I really just didn't want to admit to myself that I was not strong enough to live a life that matched my values. And so instead, I pretended that the values that my life did espouse were the actual truth. Also, I'm recording this in the middle of the road because I was like, there won't be any traffic. And literally, I think there's a car that's about to turn into my road, and I'm gonna be really upset. No, it kept going. Okay, cool.
Love that. Videos over everything, girl. We love that. F them cars. So watching that part back where I talk about how I knew I wasn't living in alignment, but I kept doing it anyway. One thing I notice now with myself is that I have a lot more grace for Chimdi of this time and for Chimdi of current time, who is still doing her best to make choices that are in alignment and isn't always conscious of when she's actually doing that and when she's still trying to figure it out. And I think back then I was really hard on myself because I wanted to be someone who was always living in integrity, and that is still important to me, but I didn't have any kind of grace for like, yeah, girl, you're figuring it out. Like, you're doing your best. It's okay.
Like, I just set up this camera, y'all. Okay, cool. I worked for an education nonprofit. Before then, I had worked for like, social, economic kind of nonprofit. And I always knew in my spirit that I wanted to be doing creative things, but I just didn't think that it was something I could do. I hadn't seen anyone in my family do it. Child of immigrant parents, being an artist necessarily isn't really encouraged career field. I didn't really see anyone in my life doing it. It just seemed really hard and difficult. I didn't think I was even strong enough to go through the challenging parts of trying to make that a real thing. And so instead I was like, all right, well, I know this other field is doing great work, is really helping people. It is aligned to part.
Okay, I want to name that. I said, like, I don't know if I was strong enough to do these hard parts of truly living a courageous life. I think it's important that we are honest about our capacity versus biting off more than we can chew. And I think I quit at the time that was right for me after, at that point, 7 years of doing work that wasn't quite right for me, And I've had people leave lots of comments under my videos on this video and other videos I've made where they talk about like, this is it, I'm gonna quit because of you. And I'm always just like, because I don't want that responsibility. But ultimately, everyone knows for themselves when is the best time. So if you know you're in a job right now that you're not supposed to be in, but you're like, listen, I am scared to leave. Like, I really don't know what I would do. You can just love that part of you. Like, you don't have to just do it anyway and throw that part of you under the bus. You can say, all right, you know what? I'm gonna need a minute. That's what I was doing for those 3 years that I worked there. After 6 months of realizing this isn't for me, is I was giving myself the space to be like, let's build up that courage so we can actually make that step. I'm glad I did that.
Parts of my values, and so let me go ahead and do that work instead. And that's been the last 10 years of my life, has been being cowardly and not being strong enough to say, actually, I don't want to do that.
Okay, so that's an example of when we were not giving ourselves grace. We weren't giving ourselves grace with that one, girl. Cowardly, that's harsh.
I don't want to do this. I know it's important. I know healthcare is great. Salaries are awesome. Living in a one-bedroom apartment in a cool downtown area is like all these things that I let other people say were important for me. I just took on because I just wasn't strong enough to say, no, this is actually not what I want.
I do still want to live in a cool one-bedroom apartment in a downtown. Actually, living in the suburbs for basically a couple of years has shown me that was not just something society was saying, that was something I was also saying. Like, give me a one-bedroom in a cool apartment downtown. I'll be very happy. Thank you, God.
And so I want to talk a bit about why I finally quit. So I think what really allowed me to quit was obviously during the pandemic, we are really having to confront what's going on in our lives. I came across some kind of prompt about like, what if this was your last day, et cetera, what would you do? And I realized like, I wouldn't really do anything different in my life. I have a really amazing set of friends. I live in LA. I love living in LA. Like, I feel really blessed about my choices and whatnot. But I was like, the only thing that I would do is quit my job. And so I realized like, if I was on my deathbed, if COVID got me and I was hacking up a lung, the only thing that I would be like, dang, it would be having not quit my job. And so that was when I knew, like, girl, this is your regret. So you need to actually go ahead and do it. That's when I knew I was gonna do it. And then originally my timing was way more long-term. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do like an even 4 years, close out strong. And what happened is I just got super duper burnt out, like more burnt out than I've ever been. I've been burnt out before. Like, that's what happened at my last role is I worked there for 4 years. I let myself just work myself to the bone until I was just so tired and so burnt out and didn't have anything left to give really. And I was so adamant because I felt terrible about how that ended at my last role. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that this time. I thought I could solve my problem without addressing the root cause of my problem, which you can never do. And I learned the hard way, so I'm telling you now, so you don't have to learn the hard way. And I realized that part of my challenge was that I was not willing to be honest about how much I was able to do and how tired and burnt out I was, and be vulnerable. Be vulnerable with myself, be vulnerable with my team, with my coworkers, with my manager, and say, hey, I do not have this. I cannot do this. I know I should be able to. There's nothing physically keeping me from being able to type up these things and create these documents and whatnot. I don't have it in me. And instead of just being honest about that, I just wasn't. I just avoided it until literally the last call of my last day at work, where I had a call with my manager and I was like, yeah, I just didn't do any of the stuff that I was supposed to do for this last week because I just had nothing left.
Okay, I want to name of of my experience leaving my role, that is probably one of the things that I had the most regret about, was the way it ended. And it was a function of me not having the capacity to be different. Like if we could be different, we would be different, right? We're always doing the best we can. And in the same way that I didn't have the capacity because I didn't have the self-awareness and the self-compassion, and I hadn't done any of the healing work that allowed me to understand like, hey girl, this is too much. You need to ask for help, etc., etc. Is the same way that I like really wish I could have ended things on a better note with my direct manager, because I think I really did blindside her because I did such a good job of like pretending like I was okay, like I was satisfied with my work, like I was gonna keep working there, like I was happy to be there. Like I was really good at putting on that face that says, oh, I'm fine, even though deep down I knew that I was counting down the days. And the people at my job who I was close to, we were all very honest with each other. Like we're all counting down the days till we get out of here, right? And it was just like a known thing. Looking back, like of course we, you know, hindsight is 2020, and we wish we could have done the healing that allowed us to not be in the situation in the first place. But that is one thing that I really wish was different.
As soon as my HR documents were in that I was out, I was just gone. I'm so sad that it ended like that, but I was just reflecting that honestly, it was a reflection of my experience, right? Because the majority of my experience in my last role was amazing. Like I had amazing coworkers, I was doing meaningful work, we had really cool experiences, I grew so much in my own leadership, in my own creativity. I got to do remote year while working with that organization. Like they gave me the permission to like travel for a year remotely. I had so much amazing stuff happen, but every day when I logged in, I knew that I was betraying myself, which is like wildly dramatic to say about doing a job you don't want to do, but your job is 40 plus hours of your week. And towards the end, I made a bunch of mistakes, which was humbling for me to realize. Not like, oh, misunderstanding, like no mistakes. This is a mistake that you made. And the most important one recently was that I took on someone else's full job in addition to my full-time job. So there was a woman on our team who was a full-time director. I took on her role on top of my job, and I like half-heartedly asked for more money, and they were like, no. And instead of being like, well then why would I? Which is really just points to self-love. Like why didn't I love myself enough to say, hey, if you expect me to do this whole scope of work, I expect to be compensated fairly for it. I didn't love myself enough to say that. And all of my challenges come from me not being honest with myself and not loving myself enough to say, hey, you're worthy of love, you're worthy of respect, you're worthy of time, you're worthy of rest, you're worthy of days off, you're worthy of vacations. Like you don't need to work yourself down to the bone to justify any positive things people say about you, any love you get, any accomplishments you get. It just doesn't work that way. And
I'm really speaking facts in this video, and I love it. And one thing I'll add about this woman's role that I took on, it wasn't that it was just like any other role in the organization. Like the work she was doing was also work that me and the other folks who like supported her looked at what she had to do and was just like, ugh, so glad I don't have to do that. You know, like it was well known that she had a really IMO, terrible job from the moment I got there. And so the fact that when she finally was able to herself exit and get something that hopefully is more aligned to her, I then agreed to take that work on knowing full well how terrible it was, just further emphasizes why we heal, because when we don't, we really do end up looking straight into our own eyes and telling a lie. And it is such a waste of time and energy. We don't need to learn lessons the hard way. So if you're watching this and it's resonating with you, I just really hope you do not have to keep learning this lesson the hard way.
And I just had to learn the hard way. And I really wish I didn't. So future Chimdy, like, can we stop? Because I'm tired of this. I really wish I'd have to learn that the hard way, y'all. But I did. And so now here I am without a job. I was just reflecting how it's not even, like I'm really grateful to be out of it. But it's not this like, I thought it'd be this like rah, rah, rah thing. No, it's like a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. It's like a, oh, thank God. Like, thank God.
So dramatic.
He freed me. As if it was this huge burden, but it wasn't a huge burden because of the work. It was a huge burden because I was not telling the truth to myself. And I shouldn't say all, a lot of my problems come down to me not telling myself the truth and living this life that is not honest. And
yeah, I would say it took years before I was able to actually appreciate the freedom that I created by leaving that role. I kept thinking that I would like recover and bounce back, and it would only take like a few months. Like I really was like, okay, it's been 3 months, I'm ready to bounce back. Oh, it's been 9 months, I'm ready to bounce back. It's been a year, I'm ready to bounce back. And literally it has been 3 years. And now I'm pretty sure I'm bounced back. And even with that, it's not that I'm bounced back ready to be working in the same way I was before, because that level of unsustainable work, I'm not interested in doing that ever again. It's that I would take on another full-time role. You know, like I don't have any kind of like grudge against working full-time, especially because what I didn't realize, because I'd only had a certain kind of job, is that you can have jobs that are like fun. Like you can have jobs where you're like, I'm so grateful that I get to do this. Like you can have jobs where you are honored and you are fulfilled and you work with great people and you get paid well. So I had this idea that like jobs inherently sucked. And what I've really realized, especially as I've gotten to do my own work, like as a creative coach, is like, no, you can be like, I love this and I'm so grateful and blessed that I get to do this and I'm making good money and God is good. Like that's a possibility. I just want to say, like, I'm not against full-time work. It's really just being honest about my own capacity and working in a way that's sustainable so that I don't reach the same level of burnout again. And of course, doing the inner healing work is what allowed me to notice when I was approaching that in the stuff I was creating, because I was taking that same energy and applying it to my coaching, applying it to my YouTube. And it was through that inner healing work that I was able to be like, okay, we're not turning myself into my own boss who then burns me out. We are gonna do something different.
then having to deal with the repercussions of that. I'm just so glad that with this experience, I am way closer to actually living my truth. Hey y'all, it's Chimney from My New Life in the Woods. Let me know in the comments, who are you? Why are you here? Have you recently quit your job? You really want to, and so you're watching motivational videos of other people who have, because you're hoping their courage will be your courage. No judgment, that's 100% what I did before I quit my own job, and it gave me a lot of courage. So like, seriously, you do what you gotta do. Just know that I'm rooting for you to make the choices that are right for your life, and only you know what those choices are, so you can do it. But if that's not your story, and if it is, comment below, let me know. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to see more.
So many of y'all subscribe to see more. Thank you.
Faith, and I want to talk about courage. I want to talk about my next steps. I've been getting a lot deeper into my faith. You probably can see it in my YouTube channel, but if you're a friend of mine in real life, then you definitely have experienced it. I literally am talking about Jesus every day in most conversations. Those are my favorite conversations to have, are ones around spirituality and purpose and why we're here.
The way that has only become like, it's almost every conversation. Like, if you are talking to me, I'm bringing up Jesus within the first 45 seconds. Like, God's gonna come up. And I really love that about me. Like, if there's one thing about me, I love me some God.
Here and what we're doing and all that. It's one thing to say that you believe in something and say you believe God has you and say you believe, that you trust the Lord to take care of you and provide for you. And it's another thing to actually show up in your life and take actions that show that you really do have that faith. And this was an example of me actually saying, I know you're going to take care of me. I know I don't need some external force to take care of me. You are enough. You are more than enough. And actually, the life I can have with you, the life you can create for me, is bigger and better and more beautiful than anything I can create on my own. And so after 30 years of doing a okay job at creating a life for myself, I'm ready to genuinely let you be in charge of my life. And that feels amazing. And there's such a sense of peace that...
Now, this is something we continue to work on every single day, all right? This is something that every day, every week, every month, every year, I get closer and closer to embodying the words that I was saying here. Quitting my job was like the biggest one, and even looking back, I didn't actually, of course, know what was in store in terms of both the opportunities that would come and like the challenges, like the emotional challenges of like really feeling like, what am I gonna do? What is going on? To look back and to hear myself talk about having this faith and to know that that's exactly what has happened, and that it has been in ways that are so much deeper in terms of like transformation, in terms of how I feel feel in my body, how I relate to myself, how I see the world, how I spend my time, my gratitude, my emotions, like all these things that literally weren't on my radar back then, those are things that have transformed. And so I know as I continue to put my faith in God and to continue to trust that I'm being led down the right path for me, it's really kind of amazing to consider all the things I in this moment can't even conceive of that are coming into my life to really bless me.
Comes with giving up control and surrendering to letting God take over your life. So highly recommend it if you're considering it. And then I want to talk just a little bit about courage because, you know, obviously a lot of people leave jobs, right? A lot of people, to me, leaving a job without having a job is wild, but a lot of people do that too. There's an affirmation that I say, if you've seen my affirmations video, then you'll recognize it. And it is, I choose courage over comfort, and it comes from Brene Brown, actually. I've been saying that affirmation for a couple of years now. I'd say for easily 80% of the time I've been saying that affirmation, I didn't believe it. It was an aspirational affirmation. It was like, one day I will genuinely choose courage over comfort. And you'd think that I would, right? Because you can't grow, you can't learn if you're being comfortable because you're not being challenged. So I would have said, no, yeah, you know, I leave my comfort zone. I like to be challenged. Not in any real way. Not in any real way that would genuinely challenge me and genuinely challenge my comfort. That's just, to me, speaks to the power of affirmations because I done did it. I chose doing the courageous thing, which is stepping out on faith, choosing a life that's more aligned to my values instead of being comfortable and just showing up to a job every day that I was good at and people liked me at, and that I had good coworkers and it was comfortable and I got the salary and I got the 401k and got the benefits. I said, actually, that's not aligned to the life that I want to live, so I'm going to step out into the unknown and see what happens. I'm so glad I did it, and I'm so proud of myself. And I think saying that affirmation again and again was a key reason why I was able to do it, because it started training me to think of myself as someone who is courageous.
This is so weird.
Strongly recommend that. And then next step. So what am I going to do?
Okay, the weirdest thing about this.
I don't know how to.
The weirdest thing about this is that it does feel like it's me from a different dimension. Like I see that this is me and I remember being her and I remember this experience and I have a similar haircut, but it does feel like it's this different alternate version of me and it's really weird. It's really weird.
I say this, y'all, but for my American viewers, America is a scam. It's a scam. We actually shouldn't be working 40 hours a week for 65 years so that we can retire in Florida and then die of diabetes. That's not.
Whoa, okay. I would not say that again in the video. I would not say that again in the video. I don't know if it's because I've become more politically correct or if I have more compassion. But I would not say again that America is a scam. America is doing the best that it can do. It is trying its hardest. It's trying its darndest. The people of America, the Americans, also trying their hardest. You know, the American health system and the way the food system is set up doesn't support people to be able to afford healthy meals such that they would then incur things like diabetes, okay? That is one thing, is I am noticing how unequivocal I am, and I'm like, whoa. Everyone's Florida. I have some of my dearest friends live in Florida, you know? I'm not saying I disavow what this Shimbi is saying, but I would certainly not repeat it.
Life. Or it isn't for me. But I really feel like America kind of makes it seem as if the only way you can have success is to buy your way to success. Leaving in 2018 just to visit overseas for the first time was the first time the crack in that facade was really created. And once that crack, it's like any crack. Once you create it, it's only a matter of time before all the other pieces just come falling down. It's really tough because I have a lot of friends who are still in that mindset of I'm gonna buy my way to happiness. I'm gonna buy my way to freedom. I'm gonna work my way to freedom. I'm gonna work my way to success. It's tough to be like, okay, good luck, love you. You know.
That's changed. I think in the last 4 years, a lot has changed in terms of how we relate to work and how we relate to success. And I cannot say that's true about my friends now. My friends now are super super grounded, super connected to the light, super committed to themselves, to their integrity, to their dignity, to their worthiness. They're not under any illusions that their success lies in some external work that they're doing. They really are understanding like who they are and how they serve. I think it's like a cultural thing that's shifted a lot too, and maybe this video played a role in it, who knows? But like, I think it's really cool how I'd say in general the culture has changed, and also my friends have changed, where these are not the people I'm hanging out with who are like kind of caught up in that rat race mentality.
Because that's what you have to do, because people are on their own journey. And if you tried to tell me this a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been trying to hear you, because I was like,
That sounds like something a broke person says. So go ahead and enjoy being broke in the woods, and I'll enjoy having a nice job in my nice apartment.
and so that's really kind of what I'm doing now.
And it's so funny. And it's so funny because I objectively have less money than this version of Chimdi, and I'm constantly in the woods. And so her judgment would have been accurate. But the difference, of course, is that I'm so much happier, and that is truly priceless.
It's just actually I'm attempting to experience a life that is not driven by pay this bill, buy this bag, get this new apartment. Oh my God, there's something inside of me. Also, I really do believe that all animals and people want me, and so whenever an animal or person is on me, I'm like, I get it, but like, could you not? I understand, but could you not?
That has changed. I don't affirm that anymore because I don't like mosquitoes and I don't like them being on me. So I no longer affirm that all animals or people want me. I'm like, those mosquitoes are on their own journey, as am I, and they can actually stay away from me. So I now understand the power of words more than I ever have in my life.
But yes, what I'm gonna do in my next steps is, well, first and the most logistically, I'm just gonna live. Like, I'm gonna stop living to pay bills, and I'm gonna instead live to live. I'm gonna live to just be here, and I'm gonna understand experientially and not just intellectually that that is actually the point of life, to just be here now, to be present, and just experience what that feels like. So first I'm just gonna visit a bunch of friends all over America. And it's all tentative, right? Because I'm realizing like even my plans are just like projections that could or could not happen.
I love that I said it then. It was as if I knew I was lying when I said it. I did not do that. I did not do that. I straight up went to Mexico. That is what I did. But I knew when I was saying it that I was like, this would be cool to do that. Wouldn't that be cool?
And then I'm gonna head down probably to Mexico and just chill out there for a while and just like live on the beach.
Yep.
And just vibe out for a bit.
Yep.
I did not realize how much rest I was denying myself.
Yeah.
And it's really
Bummer.
time for me to catch up on it. I'm really excited to start observing the Sabbath in a real way, to spend 1/7 of my entire life resting the way Jesus did, the way God himself did. I read this interesting book that was called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and it references the creation story and how God made literally everything in 6 days. And he looked around, he was like, this is good. And then God himself rested on the 7th day. And it's like, you think you need to work as much as you work in, when God, the creator of everything, including you, was like, I'm gonna take this 7th day and chill. That was the motivation I needed to actually very intentionally live a life of resting on that 7th day. But as the book kind of talks about, it creeps into the rest of your whole life once you start realizing that life is meant to just be here, right now. I'm just remaining open to opportunities, to possibilities, because I know God.
That is exactly what did happen. When I was intentional about resting that 1 day a week, I would say my entire life now, I'm that person who like doesn't really know what day it is sometimes because there's no meaningful difference between like a work day and the weekend, because my weekends will be creative and productive and my weekdays will be chill and relaxing. I'm no longer beholden to that idea that you can only rest on certain days and then you have to work on these other days. And that's one of those mindsets that is still like really steeped in our culture. And it is amazing to just truly be like, no, like what do I feel like doing today? What feels good? Let me listen to my body, my intuition, and create from that place versus like checking a calendar, checking like a collective agreement and being like, what did we as a collective decide was the day that we were allowed to rest and the day we're supposed to work? And then making my decisions from there.
This plan is beyond, like I said, any plan I have for myself. So we'll obviously just see. But yeah, so that's why I'm recording this in the woods right now, because that's the life I get to live, where I get to just hang out in the woods for a little bit and no one's gonna say nothing to me. But that's it, y'all. Just wanted to give you this update / give future Chimdi this update. I wonder where you're at now, girl. I wonder what you ended up doing. Probably something cool. Let me know in the comments below. Are you currently employed? Is someone paying your bills right now? Do you work to live? Do you live to work? Have you ever quit a job without having a job? First time for everything, y'all. I'd say it's akin to shaving your head. It's probably a bigger deal than you think it is. And then once you're on the other side, you're like, I'm so glad I did this. I look so good with a shaved head. All right. I will see y'all later. Bye.
If there's one thing I'm gonna do is give myself a compliment. I love that for me. And yes, past Chimdi, I did end up doing something really cool. And what this video reminds me of is something I heard recently about how when we have something coming up in our life, we often think about, oh, when we're doing our inner child healing work, we think about sending like that past version of ourselves love, but we can also do it for our future selves too. So I feel like what this Chimdi was doing was shouting out to me, future Chimdi, like, hey, I love you, I hope you're well, I know you're doing something cool, I know you're rested, I know you're protected. And so now, like 3 years later, be able to see and affirm like, yes, I am, you made the right choice, I'm so proud of you, I have been honoring the choice and the decisions you've made, I have been doing my best, I have been living up to it, I have not given up, I have not quit, I have always held you in my heart, I have not stepped out of alignment, I have not stepped out of integrity, and I love you so, so much. It feels like a beautiful like completion of the circle. And now as I think about Chimdi from next year or 2 years or another 3 years or 10 years from now, watching this video and seeing like the fact that like, whoa, you know, I am just so grateful, and I'm sending you, future Chimdi, so much love because I know you're only gonna take this baton and run with it even further. So thank you for walking with me. If you've been with me since then, let me know in the comments, brag on yourself a little bit. It has been a journey and I am so, I'm very proud of myself because it was scary. It was scary, okay? All right. Oh, and if you want some coaching, free 30-minute coaching call, you can put time on my calendar. Okay, bye.